Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Perkovich, and this is episode number 581. Available now in select cities across the US and on video on demand is The Bastard Sons, a crime thriller that tells the story of the son of a slain mob boss who, along with his loyal crew, seek revenge. A gritty and engrossing crime indie that strays away from the usual gangster movie tropes in favor of a grounded, intimate filmmaking experience. The Bastard Sons also makes the directorial debut of its star and writer, Kevin Interdanato. And Kevin, I thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man. I love that introduction. I'd like to request a copy of that so I can pass it around. That was terrific. Thanks.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's a really interesting film to me because I'm a big gangster movie guy. We're talking just off air before about my posters behind me and all the
Yeah.
stuff that I love. The thing about this movie, though, like I said in my introduction, is that you really wanted to approach it kind of like more of a kind of like a workaday grounded kind of like crime movie. And yeah, I could tell I could tell by watching it just in the not only is the dialogue very kind of like realistic and kind of like more not much showy but kind of like low key, kind of like naturalistic, but also in the way that you approach your camera angles and your handheld stuff in there as well. Was it always something for you where I'm sure you're a big gangster crime movie fan as well, but you didn't want to go down that road of type of gangster filmmaking and wanted to make something not only unique to you as a filmmaker, but also something that's just different to the usual that's out there.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I um I'm an actor, and I've been fortunate enough to play leads and carry stories enough times where I feel like I know how to tell a story. I never directed anything. Never I never directed anything. I never thought about it or researched it or anything. So I kind of went in this unrehearsed but planned, and I planned extensively, but I didn't shy. I didn't go towards the stereotypes. I just don't like that. I didn't want anything to be caricature or to play the stereotypes. I also feel like my generation, man, our generation, I should say, uh, is probably the last generation to look at what real gangsters were like
Mm.
and think that they were normal people. Because I grew up with dudes like that, and uh, they're not really around too much anymore. That older generation, and what I didn't want to do was depict anyone who might be looked at as a caricature rather than a real person. I view things a certain way as an actor. I just kind of applied what I was saying before to this film, and I don't know my voice yet as a storyteller, but I do know that whatever is conveyed in Sons along the lines of what you were mentioning about the realism and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, if I were to write and direct a comedy, I don't think it would deviate too much from the style. Just be different circumstances, and it'd be a lot more humorous. So yeah, I guess not to be long-winded about it, but I strive for an honest reality approach. I don't like acting. I like the profession of it, but I don't like acting. And I especially in these movies, it could come close to doing those characters. So I just thought about using real people and non-actors too to make it even seem even more. Half the cast is not actors.
I just want to backtrack a bit in regards to the process of making this film. I've spoken to a lot of filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers, about the impact that COVID has on them. On one end, of course, everything shut down, there's no work to be done. However, there is still work to be done in the creative process. A lot of people that I let's talk to, especially directors and writers, they're hunkering down in their, whether it be their basements or their office or whatever, and they're like, you know what, that script I've been thinking about writing the last 6 years, now's the time for me to really get on that. And you
Yeah.
yourself, Kevin, you went on a bit of a writing spree during that time, and a lot of that stuff's coming to fruition now. Malicious came out late last year, which I really enjoyed. Talked to John Fallon about that movie. I really enjoyed your performance in that.
Thanks,
And
man.
Bastard Sons is like another kind of like result of that kind of writing spree as well. When you were writing Bastard Sons, though, I'm just really curious though, where did the idea kind of come to even approach a movie like this? And did you even know then that you were gonna direct it as well? Were you writing that film with the intention of directing, or is that does that come in afterwards?
Yeah, afterwards. Like you mentioned about, what COVID did to everybody. I too was the guy hunkered down in my basement. I had a God, when COVID started, my daughter was 5 months, and I didn't know what to do, man. I was like, I gotta work, I gotta figure something out. And it's not just, being an actor wanting to stay productive, but it's a father wanting to make sure that I, could put food on the table and at least
Hmm.
ensure that. So I pounded out. So I ended up writing three screenplays pretty quick. Bastard Sons was the first one. Um, that oddly enough was a different title years ago. I auditioned for a movie that a friend that this kid was casting in New Jersey. I auditioned for the lead. He gave me the lead. Financing fell through. That was 15, 16 years ago. And I stayed in touch with this guy. His name is Glenn Rodriguez. And I moved to Los Angeles. Glenn moved to Los Angeles. We stayed in touch. We worked together through the years, did a couple shorts. And I ended up moving back to New Jersey. Glenn moved somewhere else. And then COVID hit. And I was like, man, remember that script you had years ago? And he said, yeah. Now, granted, he was 18 years old, 17, 18 years old when he wrote it.
Mm.
But I said it was a really cool concept. It's about these five guys that grew up together. They were like brothers, you know. It wasn't too deep. He was a young kid that wrote it. But I like the idea of these guys that grew up like brothers. And I'm like, how close could brothers really be unless they were like somehow blood related? So I had a story in mind. I put it on it. I told Glenn about it. He said, go for it. I wrote the script. And then I bounced a lot off of Glenn and made tweaks and adjustments and everything. So it was actually derived on something that was written by a 17-year, 18-year-old kid 15 years ago. And it's where it came to be. Whole new story, whole new everything, but that's how it began.
Please support Matt's movie reviews on Patreon. Get access to exclusive content, request movie reviews and top 10 lists, and help support my work. Please click on the Patreon link in the description below. Something about your film, and I think in a lot of crime gangster movies, there's something very Shakespearean about them because it deals with a lot of things, power plays, betrayals. There's a family aspect, even if it isn't blood related. There's a family aspect. I don't know. With this movie, I felt there was a little bit of kind of Hamlet in there as well, in regards to a father being usurped from the crown, and then a son, battling demons of the past and the ghosts of the past to try to go forward. Does that come into context in any way, like Shakespeare or anything like that at all, or is that something that's so embedded in gangster films anyway that kind of comes through naturally in the genre itself?
I've picked up on that in gangster films as well. You know what's funny, man? This is it's The Bastard Sons is a gangster film.
Yeah.
It's a realistic gangster film, but I never saw them as gangsters. I just saw them as normal guys, like kind of guys I grew up with, and they just so happened to be raised into a crime family, and they're just positioned as that, um, that world, and I appreciate the comparison, man. Thank you. I think that has a little bit more to do with how I view things as an actor when I tell a story. If I'm lucky enough to play the lead in something, I always look for the arc. I always look for the obstacle, the things in the way to overcome. And when I was writing this, I constantly reminded myself, scene after scene, what's in their way? What's in their way? What's in their way? How can I raise the stakes? How can I raise the stakes? Whether it was physical, psychological, anything. And I think that might be close to what you're referring to, that it was tragic in a way. And I just tried to make their journey as difficult as possible, even though in the film it takes place over really 2 days,
Hmm.
as what it is. But if the stakes were as high as possible and you put ordinary people in a high stakes situation, that creates drama, creates conflict. And that's what I was striving for.
And the thing that I really enjoyed about the film as well is your character Vincent seems to be going through some almost kind of like an existential journey in sort of ways, trying to figure out who he is and kind of like in all of this. And
Mhm.
he comes to his own revelations at the end. I don't want to give away too much because this is a movie you need to see all the way up like to the end because there's like character kind of like revelations after revelations after revelations in this movie. There's a great quote in the movie. One of my favorites, I think, will be of the year. Will be I'm not a good man because I was not raised by a good one. which is really interesting. That kind of like generational thing regarding profession, regarding morals, regarding a lot of things. And I think it sort of way seemed like Vincent was trying to fight what he is through a lot of his life. And then when push came to shove, he kind of had to embrace the sort of darkness and I don't know whether the word should be just trying to think of the word. Well, let's just stick with darkness, trying to embrace the darkness that is within him. That I think he was trying to push away for so long, and it made him do kind of things maybe he wouldn't want to do beforehand. But at the end of the day, he is who he is, and he just has to live with it
Yeah.
now.
Wow, great take on that, man. Thanks for really reading into it. Yeah, yeah, you kind of nailed it. I think if a man is not torn in one way or another, um, if he's walking, if someone just looks like they're walking such a straight line and they got it all together, I think something's up. Because I think we all have our tendencies and our pulls. Um, with Vincent, yeah, I said that line in the very beginning of the film, like you mentioned. That was the first thing I wanted his character to say, to tell the audience right off the bat, he is not a good guy.
Yeah.
But how far could he go and still have the audience hold on to him and still want to see him win? That's what I was playing with him. How far can I go with him and the audience would still care all the way to the very end? I didn't know what people would think of him at the end. I didn't know. I've seen movies rarely, but I've seen movies where you watch the end of the film and you're like, you know, damn. But we tested it and it worked. Oddly enough, looking at the screen in the background here, there's someone I'm looking at that was the motivation for my character actually, and that was De Niro's character in Heat.
Mm,
I always wondered what he would have been like if we saw who he was and how he was 15 years earlier, and
mm,
that is what I based Vincent around. A younger version of what that character may have been like in the world of the Bastard Sons, in my
mm.
film. A lot of things I pulled from that to play around with and kind of settle in the character a little bit. You know?
I think a lot of times it comes down to a lot of movies, whether it be your film or The Godfather or other films. To me, a lot of times it comes down to their tragedies. A lot of time it comes to the downfall of man because these guys
Mm.
need to do things to stay in power, and a lot of things they have to do you can't come back from. You really
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
And I think, yeah,
yeah.
and I think the Bastard Sons really sticks on that. I was listening to an interview that you did a few months back, and you were talking about how when you were in Los Angeles, on sets of TV shows and films and etc., there's a lot of downtime, and in that downtime, a lot of people tend to just go off into their own little world, but you were always kind of like sticking around and trying to learn and trying to take in as much as you can from productions and such. I imagine you would have had been around a lot of different directors and a lot of different movie sets. When you take all that experience and you put it into your own movie, and now you're the director as well as a star and a producer in the film, how much of those lessons from the everything in your career was so important to at that point in your time where you're like, look, now I'm the guy calling the shots, I'm the guy behind the camera. Because I'd imagined that it would have been a daunting task, but having that much experience behind you, I'm sure that would have been a bit of a cushion, especially on those hard times when you might have to fall a few times before you can realize the right path to go on.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I did enough falling. I did enough of learning from my mistakes. I'm over that shit now.
Mm,
We got kids, we were just talking before, and it's now if I make mistakes, no, we all do. I'm not scared to make one, but I do everything in my power to make sure that they are like this and I can
mhm.
recover. Um, so yeah, I studied a lot. I studied a lot, a lot, a lot on top of being an actor. I just realized that the life of an actor is so fulfilling when I'm acting. And when I'm not, there's downtime, and I know a lot of actors that they're just not very busy people. And they find things outside of the business to do to fill that void or to keep their mind right, waiting for the audition, waiting, waiting, waiting that whole game. And I'm like, I don't like to wait, dude. And I don't like to. Someone just told me a quote the other day, and it was so great. Hope is not a strategy. And it
Mm,
hits home with me when I heard that. And I said, yeah, it's absolutely not. So I figured if there is that much downtime as an actor, even when you are working as an actor, I might as well fill it something else that I can be creatively fulfilled with. And somehow or another, this just kind of it worked. I didn't realize how fulfilling it would be to. I've written several scripts before, but directing was really interesting. Uh, More so in post. I really, really enjoyed post, the cuts, the sound editing, the sound design, the score. I really enjoyed all of it. And I'm glad I took that journey with it. So yeah, I learned a lot. I picked from people. I learned, maybe I would say I learned more what not to do
mhm,
or how not to be. And then from an actor's perspective, how it felt on set with everyone on, on set, especially with the first AD and the director, and how those relationships were and what worked best for me. And everyone in the cast, aside from one person, I knew everybody personally, or I've already worked with them. I didn't audition anybody. I feel like that's kind of insulting. I know enough actors. I've been in the game long enough now. It's like, do I really need to audition someone that I know and I already know their work? It doesn't make sense. I know they can do it. So it's always been flattering to me if someone offered me a role and I just wanted to kind of give that back. Um, Al Sapienza, who played Rome, he was a friend of Joe Cernio. Joe Cernio played the role of Dobson and also helped produce the movie. He reached out to Al, and Al was all about it. He jumped in. So yeah, I really didn't have much to do as a director. It was kind of loose. I kind of told everybody that whatever they do is nothing. It's kind of impossible to be wrong.
mm.
Uh, yeah, I said all I really care about right now is that you get into it, you understand everything that's going on, and you just relax. And I said no performances. Don't come here thinking you're going to perform, then you're going to ruin it. You're absolutely going to ruin it. So just tap into that side of you that fits in the clothing that you're wearing, and just kind of go for it. And it seemed to work, even with non-actors working with experienced actors. You got Frankie Edgar, who's a UFC legend, opposite of Malik Whitfield, who's been around for 30 something years, and it worked. It just worked. Everyone kind of found like a common ground within themselves as a person rather than worrying about being an actor, you know. I hope that answered your question a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
Uh,
It did. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Because I always find it very interesting when I I think with you and like other people that I've talked to, philosophy that I share is that doers do. And you can't help but not do. I'm always trying to keep myself busy with my own stuff as well over here, and I always try
yeah,
to do like a sort of podcast. I'm writing, I'm not writing, I'm editing, I'm doing something as well because I don't like to waste time. Because I think
yeah,
to wasting time is a sin in my opinion because we're only here for so long, and
yeah.
to waste that time I think is just a it'd be a shame and a disappointment if when people do that. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you love. I want to talk about New Jersey because New Jersey is a vital to the Bastard Sons. I believe the original title of the film might have been The Bastard Sons of New Jersey. I think I remember seeing some promo of that before. Never came up. All right,
No, but it
my bad
sounds
then.
good, man.
My bad then. But New Jersey is like really important in the film. Of course, you shot it there. It's set there. My perspective on New Jersey, coming from as a far, far, far outsider in the other way of the world, there's only a few things I really know about New Jersey. I know Bruce Springsteen. I know the Nets used to be there. I know Bon Jovi, and I know who was a bunch of other good metal guys. I know Zach Wild, I think he's from there, and other guys as well. That's like in Sopranos, of course, is
Right,
my
right.
perception of it. Can you just tell me as an outsider, how would you describe New Jersey to an outsider? Because to me, it seems like a very kind of like very blue collar kind of place. So am I thinking in a right wavelength there?
Very much so. It's very blue collar and very, very hardworking white collar. Um, it's bar none the most diverse state in the United States. It makes the most sense for anyone who wants to shoot here. You have mountains, inner city, ghetto, upper class, lower class, um, beaches, part. I mean, it's green and it's city. It's all over the place. An extremely diverse state. So to put a blanket on the whole state, it wouldn't be doing it justice because it just doesn't. You can't do that. It's called the Garden State for a reason. Most of the state is farm.
Mm,
To be honest with you, but the more popular areas are not. I would divide the state up like this. I would say it's three sections. You got the Sopranos,
hmm
that world does not meaning like Italian, but I just mean like that's a suburban kind of feeling. North Jersey. There's a bit of an edge to North Jersey, yeah, a lot more of an edge. It's a little quicker. Then you got Central Jersey and by the shore. If you listen to Bruce Springsteen, that's what it is. If you
hmm
feel Bruce Springsteen, you feel that section of Jersey, and that bleeds into South Jersey too. And then you have West, and West Jersey is it's slow life. It's a lot of farms, it's a lot of vast land. It's not visited too often. If there's names of towns in this state I never heard of, and I never will. But uh, yeah, the mix between North Jersey and Central Jersey, between The Sopranos and Bruce Springsteen music, that's a good mix to define a good portion of the state.
Other thing I've learned about New Jersey, listening to some of your interviews, is that when it came to filming there, it's such a communal aspect to it. Everyone wants to see you do well in regards to it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember you were telling the story about how in Los Angeles, if you're shooting this in LA and you want to ask like a bakery if you wanted to shoot there, they'll say, yeah, sure, $1,000, you know. And it's
yeah,
something that comes up quite a bit. I know I've interviewed a lot of filmmakers. They go rogue, so they don't have to pay the permits for shooting in LA. You know, try to like
yeah.
have spotters and stuff like that because very
Mm,
kind of like Coen-esque kind of filmmaking. But if you do that in New Jersey, people are like, oh, of course, what film you making? Excellent. Oh, great. Make sure you just get the sign in there, all good, all that kind of thing.
right,
And
right.
that's really cool, I think, because I think when you have that kind of communal aspect to it, it's kind of like almost seems like us against the world kind of like kind of mentality, and you need that I think on a film set. It's like because it is you guys coming together as because film sets are communities, right? You guys coming together.
Yeah.
It's everyone that does their little piece in there. And to have kind of like the outer world where you're filming in take part in that as well, and like giving you reassurance and giving you pride and having your back. I'm sure that's a really cool thing for you, not only as a son of New Jersey, but like directing your first movie as well.
Yeah, I felt safe here, man. I've been involved in stuff shooting in LA, and I've produced a couple in LA, and different, like you said, not to reiterate, but yeah, how much, And it's like
Mm.
nothing for nothing, but go scratch your ass, man, But in LA, everyone there, making movies is a thing. They're used to it. In Jersey, in these rural areas that are not used to it, I think at heart, everyone's a movie fan or a TV fan. I don't know anyone that
Mm.
really isn't. I don't know anyone that doesn't watch movies or talk about it over dinner or whatever. So if you present them to that, oddly, they're more grateful, and out of the goodness of my heart, even if they don't want money, I'll flip them a couple bucks. You know what I mean? To say thank you. That's the feeling you get. And when you got that good energy coming from a location owner, which is in the form of a friend, family member, friend of a friend, friend of a family member, whatever it is, it just makes such a nice cohesive unity community to make that movie. It just really brings everybody up. It's not about the money. And it definitely helps when you don't have a lot of money. So
Yeah.
it's big time, as you know. So I was really, really fortunate, man, to make this film, and I look forward to making another ones too. We had a small crew, man. I think we had 9 people total,
Wow.
including yeah, not including myself, but and that's with like maybe 2 PAs. So it was tight. It was tight, but everything was very specific. I had a team of warriors with me, real nasty, badass, awesome people. And they just kicked ass every day, and everyone cared about the movie, everybody. And I'm glad they did because it shows.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on-demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but I heard that you have kind of like got a pitch together of a potential sequel to the Bastard Sons, and I think there could be something really cool there because continuing on with the Shakespearean theme I was talking about before. Now Vincent is going to approach the era of his life where heavy lies the crown. Like he's on top of that. He's
Yeah.
on the throne now, right? So what now? And to me, I don't know about you, one of my favorite movies is The Godfather Part Two because I loved watching how Michael kind of dealt with that kind of thing of where now he's in charge, he's the man. And I'm really interested in how Vincent kind of handles that as well. So, um, what do you think in so far that is, of course, it's going to all generate on the success of the Bastard Sons, and I urge everyone to watch it so we can get that to be a successful movie. But if it does do what I'm hoping it does do, are we going to see more Vincent and his crew in the future, you think?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely are. I have it in my head already. I already down on paper. I know it's going to happen. Like you just said, I can't get ahead of myself and write that script. And I know it'll fly. Once I open it up and start putting it down, I know it's going to fly. But I can't do it until I know it makes sense to do it. And the only way I'll
Yeah.
know if it makes sense to do it is if, people respond to this film and see how it does. If there's a warrant for it, yeah, without a doubt, I love it. I have it all figured out already. I knew a while back. Um, the stakes in Bastard Sons are high, but the stakes in the sequel are through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get
I
too much away yet,
No, no,
but
no. I wouldn't ask you to either because I think it'll be great to see that because I'm a big fan of the Bastard Sons. I'm a big fan of crime movies, a big fan of gangster movies, and I love what you've done with the Bastard Sons because
oh, thanks,
it's like
man.
it's what I like, but it's different, and that's what I really enjoy. I like them when filmmakers take something and they mess around with it and mess with convention and then make it their own. And I think what you've done
Yeah,
here, Kevin, is exactly that. And for everyone out there listening, the Bastard Sons out now, select cities across the US and on video on demand. If you can see it in cinemas, buy that ticket, watch it in cinemas. Support independent filmmakers. Industry needs more independent filmmakers getting their films in cinemas. If you don't like the glut of superhero movies, well, then support independent filmmakers and get those movies out there, and then the industry will change. I can't, talk about that enough. And Kevin Interdanato, thank you so very much for your time today. And also, I understand that you are a veteran of the Gulf War, and also just want to say thank you for your service as well in regards to that. And
thank you, man.
yeah, and thank you for this film because like I said, man, I'm a big fan of it. I got a review, halfway through there now, and I hope that I have it up very soon. And I can't wait to share this interview and that review when your next movie comes up. I think the next one is the Saint Michael from
Yeah, St. Michael of the City. Yeah.
Saint Michael of the City with that comes up and starts and is ready to go. I'd love to have a look at it and talk to you about that one as well, man. I'm a big
Oh,
fan of your work.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks a lot. Thanks for what you do, man. It's nice to communicate with someone like yourself who's got so much film knowledge and appreciation too. So I appreciate you. Thanks, dude.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.